Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Hard Truth. Thank you so much for watching, and a special hello to our friends in Canada, the UK, and South Africa. Oh, and also Australia. In this video, we're going to talk about Xana and Ethan's room and what exactly DM and BF saw on the day of the unaliving, and also whoever else came to that house that day before police were called. All right, this is going to be a hot one, so grab yourself a nice cup of coffee, a nice cup of tea as we begin our story. I decided to do a reconstruction based on what we can know for a fact. Okay, let's assume that this is Xana and Ethan's bedroom. Okay, the bed may have been turned a different way, but let's just assume that this is their bedroom and this is the hallway leading to the living room. All right, we know for a fact that there was blood seeping out from the wall from Xana and Ethan's room, and this wall was the furthest away from the door. Okay, we know that for a fact. So that tells us that a lot of the assault took place well inside that room for there to be that much of a concentration of blood against the wall furthest away from the door. So somebody was assaulted right about here. All right. Now, the PCA states that when they entered the room, Xana was on the floor. It says Kernodle's, hereafter Kernodle's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Kernodle's, laying on the floor. There are a lot of rumors going around that Ethan died at the door. His body was blocking the door, and maybe this is why the roommates couldn't get in. But we know from the crime scene photo that somebody bled out in that bed. Okay, these are not blood splatter where somebody was fighting and there was a spray of blood. Somebody was laying in that bed bleeding out, in my opinion. Okay, so I would say that Ethan passed away in the bed, and also that he was killed first. That's my opinion. I don't see where he could be at the door if Xana was on the floor because somebody had to bleed out in that bed. I don't believe that Xana would be fighting off an attacker to the point that her fingers were severed while Ethan was still alive. If they were all in the room and the attackers attacked Xana first, I mean, Ethan is there. He would have woke up. I just don't believe it. I believe Ethan was killed first quickly. I've heard reports that his throat was slashed. And I mean, they pretty much had to take him out quick because Ethan wasn't a small man. And so if he was killed first and then Xana fought with the killer until, she couldn't do anymore, then it's highly unlikely that Ethan would be anywhere but right there in that bed. And now also, let's say Ethan was up against the door, deceased. Even so, if they came in and Hunter or whoever took his pulse, the door had to be open. Okay? It doesn't make sense that he was wedged up against the door, but then they're telling us that Hunter or someone took Ethan's pulse before calling 911. All right? Either way, those kids saw Ethan and Xana in that bedroom, deceased, drenched in blood. God only knows what the smell was by the time, all these things took place. And I'm just saying that there are too many lies about the account of what happened and how these kids were discovered. Another point worth mentioning is that I don't believe Ethan or Xana went downstairs and got a Doordash and brought it up and headed to the kitchen with it. That doesn't make sense because it was, so they say, 4 o'clock in the morning. They have been drinking, you're hungry. You're not going to get your food and then go to the kitchen with it. You're going to go to where you're going to eat it. All right. The only reason somebody would go to the kitchen is maybe to get a plate. And by the looks of that kitchen, I don't think there was a plate available unless they had paper plates. The common sense thing to believe is that if they received a DoorDash, they took the food to their room. Okay. And so there should be food in the room from the DoorDash. And that means that the bag should have blood on it from the assault because I don't believe they made a pit stop to the kitchen. All right. And some people are saying it may not have been Jack in the Box that was delivered. Well, this is the prop that they're showing us. They're saying there was a DoorDash, and they're showing us a DoorDash bag from Jack in the Box with Xana's name on it. So this is the narrative that they're feeding us, that it was Jack in the Box. If it was another restaurant, I don't think that we would be seeing a bag with Xana's name handwritten on it where reporters can take a picture of it through the kitchen window. All right. So, what's your thoughts on that one? The last thing I want to quickly address is this audio video of a white car pulling into Linda Lane around 407. And from the video, it looks to me like the windows are tinted, which means it wouldn't be Brian's car. I'm not sure if Kopaka's Elantra had tinted windows. I need to go back and look. But if the windows are tinted, it's not Brian's car. Another problem with this is the timing. Okay? At 407, he's supposed to be getting out of his car, going inside the house, not parking somewhere, because the time is already very, very short. So if he was over here still in a car at 407, he couldn't have got in the house. I mean, he could have got out and walked over there. By the time he got in the house and got upstairs to the first victims, it would have been about 409 or 410 maybe. And so, I mean, that means it would take less than 8 or 9 minutes for the murders. 7 minutes. And I think that's ridiculous. I think 8 or 9 minutes is ridiculous for somebody with no military or police training to, unalive 4 people in 8 or 9 minutes in a split level home, okay, that maybe he's never been in. I just can't see it. And then for this to be him, that means he had to do it in about 7 minutes. We talked about that in the 10 things that the prosecutors made mistakes on. And that, like I said, this 8 or 9 minute timeline it's killing him. Because here's a white car on camera. They could claim that was him. But the timeline is wrong. He can't be over here in these apartments at 407, still in the car, and then be in the house about to strike at the same time. Okay? If the car pulled into King Road and went over there in front of the house at a little after 404, how can the car be over on Linda Lane at 407? It's just not possible. So the timeline is going to be the prosecution's undoing. That's my prediction. Even more so than the DNA and the white car and the phone pings, the timeline alone for one person is just not feasible. All right? What do you think about this one? Let's talk about it.